Magnus Carlsen suffers a rare defeat against MBL, that too against his favorite Sicilian opening. Magnus is playing with the black pieces here, and MBL with the white pieces. Magnus starts the clock, and E4 is played, and Magnus plays his Sicilian basically, and knight to F3 by MVL, knight to C6 by Magnus, and after the pawn exchange, the knight captures back, and knight to F6 by Magnus. Now, these are all just usual Sicilian opening. This is the World Blitz Championship, and they are basically splitting out all the moves here. So after the pawn push here, knight now comes into the center of the board here to d5, and after the knight captures the knight, pawn captures back here basically. So knight retrieves Magnus into e7, and pawn push to a4 here, which becomes actually crucial in the game context later on in the end game. So both the players taking their time. Position is still quite equal. They're just nearing the opening now, end of the opening right now. So Magnus now plays knight to g6, and pawn is again pushed by MVL, and Magnus brings his bishop out to e7, and after 10 moves, it's a new game, and also the position is fairly equal now. VL responds by playing bishop to e3 now. And Magnus captures. And VL just goes ahead and captures the pawn with the support of the knight. Bishop to d7, where the queen move was better, and bishop now retrieves here to b6. The idea is if you capture, this bishop will be gone basically. So the bishop retrieves with an attack on the queen, and queen goes to d8 now. So as you can see, MVL is slightly better even in this position here, quite early, just after the opening here. He brings his rook up the board to a3 here, allowing to double up the rook or the queen, creating a battery, also allowing access for the rook to swing into the king side and launch an attack here. Magnus is not particularly happy about this move here. So he captures the knight with his bishop, and bishop captures the knight back by VL. Magnus retrieves his bishop now to d8, attacking the dark square bishop. So bishop exchange by MVL. Magnus recaptures with his rook now. VL now just castles on the king side. He could even go for this pawn push to b4 as well, supporting the pawn and forming the pawn structure here. Magnus plays queen to c5, attacking the bishop, pawn push, supporting both the pawn and the bishop at the same time. Magnus brings his queen to b4 now, trying to infiltrate the white camp. So basically, this queen and this rook was double attacking the pawn. So MVL brought his queen here, protecting the pawn here. Knight to f4 by Magnus, and rook comes to e1. think Magnus also plays queen to d2, and king comes close to f1. Bye. MBL. Bye bye. Magnus pushes e4 now, which actually is not a great move. Best move was to push f5 there, and MBL brings his queen, trying for the queen exchange. Magnus goes for that, and queens are off the board now. Rook captures the queen back, and knight comes to d3 here. And he goes for an exchange sacrifice here, and Magnus is now forced to capture back with his pawn. And once he does that, this pawn is basically hanging because he cannot bring any of your pieces to support this pawn. So pushes the pawn to b4 MBL, and he's better now. And the rook comes in here, and Magnus brings his rook to b1, attacking the pawn. So MBL brings his rook, Magnus brings his rook up c7 now, and this pawn will be captured by MBL like this. You could even go for the king move, because once his rook comes here, or once you block off this pawn, the rook can come here and cut off the king. Magnus brings his rook to e7, and MBL cuts the rook off with rook to e3 move. His king closer to f8, and basically after that pawn push, and king comes to the board towards the pawn chain. Rooks are exchanged off. King comes up the board by Magnus. Both the players try to bring the kings close. Rook to f8 by Magnus. The best move was to bring the rook to c8. The idea is to protect the pawn here on f5. Pawn push by both the players, but this is a mistake by Magnus, and clearly you can see MBL is better now, and instead of going for the capture, he can afford to push the pawn, forming the pawn chain. A deadly pawn chain, 5 pawn in h2 right now, and with the bishop there, Magnus is clearly in trouble, and MBL is really better here in this position. Magnus continues pushing the pawn to f3 here, and capture happens now. Once the rook comes to f4, we'll just pushes his pawn on the a file. After the capture, bishop captures. Magnus just pushes his pawn to d5, trying to create some kind of counterplay with his pawn, and we'll just push it to d5 now. Magnus continues his push here. Best move was to retrieve the rook here. So Velius pushes his pawn. After the check, king captures and goes up the board. Pawn captures back here, and pawn is pushed with a check. King moves closer, and bishop makes the check again, and king comes to e6 now. So bishop again follows with the check, and king goes to e5, and Velius pushes his pawn here. The rook drops back, trying to prevent that. Again, got 2 pawns here. Magnus creating his counterplay with f2 here, but the bishop is a block here. King goes to protect both these pawns here, and once the king comes here, the bishop goes to f1 here, and basically this pawn cannot queen. Magnus Carlsen lost the match. He won by resignation here, because you cannot queen. One of these pawns will grab the rook, and the other will queen, and it's literally game over here. So that's the game. Quite a great game, blitz match. Magnus was clearly in trouble even from the beginning. It was not like usual champion, but despite of this, he went on to win the World Blitz Championship. So thanks for watching. We'll be back with more such videos.